we're ready. Okay, the first thing I do whenever I want to applique is find a pattern that I like. And then I make my pattern, template it's called, and I cut it out of cereal boxes, mostly it's cardboard, and I can use it time and time again. So I do each little pattern I make, and I mark it on my fabric. And then I say interfacing, and I iron it on. I do it on with the glue on one side. Now you can get the one where it's got it on both sides, but I don't like that. If I'm doing little eyes or something that's just a little bitty thing, I'll use it. But most of the time I use this that is glue on one side. And the other side will stick to your material most of the time, and it don't move very much. So, and I like it because it's really, it's not stiff, and it won't, it moves. But if you've got a big piece like all the t-shirt quilts, you want to get the more expensive interfacing because this will come loose after it's worn. So then I cut out my first background material, and I cut out my batting and my bottom piece, the backing. I cut it a little bit bigger than this because you want, after I sew it on, then you trim it. But then I got each piece and I put it like I'm going to sew it. And now all I got to do is put a snap in the back and it's done. And I meant to ask my husband, he does that for me, and I meant to ask him and forgot it. So I will put it on it before I give it to the hog roast. But that is the way you make a baby bill applique.
Hi everyone. I've always wanted to wear one of these. Okay. I have an opportunity of a lifetime for you today. I'm not only going to teach you a really cool and fast way to make a quilt, but then I'm going to give you an opportunity to come make that quilt, and we're going to give it to a child in November for a new Habitat for Humanity build. So this is like the whole package. Several years ago, a couple of our quilt club members showed up with a new pattern, new design. It was Annie and Sue, and I don't even remember what quilts looked like, but there was a technique called strip tube quilting, and of course I'm like, oh, I want to learn that. And they gave me a piece of paper with some measurements, and I hung it on my wall, and 5-6 years later I'm like, okay, I got to get rid of this piece of paper, let's see what this is about. And of course I had jumped in and bought the ruler, which how many of you have rulers at home that you've never used? So when I guess when I was asked to teach something and I was thinking what I could teach, I decided that this would be a good thing to teach. And because with this ruler you can make, I think there's 12 different designs that you would never know that they came from the same block. So to give you an example, I brought two. And if you look over here behind the patriotic sign, right behind the patriotic sign, that red, white, and blue, and then to its left, the cream, burgundy, and blue, that's the very same block, very same pattern, very same ruler, and then I'm going to show you a third one here, very same. So you really never need to buy another ruler.
Oh, they won't want to hear that.
Okay, so as with a lot of things, there's a book, there's a ruler. They're wonderful to have, they're helpful to have. You don't have to have either one of them. I will give to you some handouts today. I tried to be very careful not to illegally, take over her copyrights. They probably still could get me with this, but I think I'm going to give you enough. Okay, if you can't hear me, you tell me. Went to Walmart the other day, needed fabric to get these samples together. Don't usually shop Walmart for fabric.
Whenever you get close to that thing, gets close to something, you hold the book in front of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, went to Walmart to buy fabric, don't usually, but I was in a hurry, and came upon the coolest thing. The Greenwood Walmart over by me on 135 has a huge new display of Waverly fabric cuts, that a yard for $3. And they are beautiful, and they are color coordinated, and they are just hanging on a wall, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I want. So I bought this, and then I bought this. That's going to go with it. And then I bought this. So I have $12 in fabric. Until I finish what I've started, I can't tell you exactly how many blocks I'm going to get out of it, but I know I'm going to get at least a baby block. So then you just buy more fabric if you want more blocks, just like anything. So that's just a little pitch for this, because if you're not good at picking fabric, and I'm oftentimes not very good at picking fabric, this is your answer. So you start by cutting with the fabric, 44 inches, into 2.5-inch strips. I then went into, after I bought my 4, I just went into my stash and found some more scraps that I wanted to get rid of that kind of fit, just to add more variety to the quilt, because this, as you can see, these are pretty scrappy. So we all know how to cut 2.5-inch strips. My sister and Susan McKnight happen to own AccuCutter machines, and you can cut 2.5-inch strips in about 30 seconds. So if you come to the class I'm going to teach, I'm going to bring Sharon's AccuCutter, and so if anybody wants to bring their fabric, we literally can cut your strips. It is amazing. If you're not careful, you're welcome. That's one of those. So cut your strips. Then you take 2 strips and you sew them together. Now, if you look at the quilt on the left with the cream color, I sewed 3 strips together. Matter of fact, look at both of those. They're both 3 strips. But it makes no difference. It depends on the pattern you're using. Okay? So for this pattern, sew 2 strips together. Then I'm taking my solid contrasting color. Well, I have 2 background colors on this pattern, okay? One is yellow, one is floral. So I pick up a 2 strip and I put my contrasting on the back. So these are 2.5. That makes that what? 4.5? 2.5, 2.5, 5. That makes that one 4.5. Of course, your pattern tells you. These are right sides together. Okay, so it's a tube. That's the name, tube strip quilting. It'll tell you how many, for this particular pattern, how many to use coordinating fabric A on, how many to use coordinating fabric B on. Then you get to use the ruler. So you've got these strips, and you see the pencil markings on there? Hopefully that's a friction pin. You never know in my sewing room. Yeah, there's the markings on it. Okay. Again, using the pattern of your choice and your strip tube ruler, there's inches down the side. This particular block calls for a 5.5 inch. Because I do multiple things at one time and I don't think before I act or speak, I use painter's tape, because if you lay this up 1/2 inch, down 1/2 inch, you end up with different size blocks. So that one on the left, I've probably got about 20 miscut blocks, so I'm putting them all together in another quilt. So like for this demonstration, I finally thought, why don't I get a piece of painter's tape so I can see where I'm going. All right, all I'm going to do is, as she's showing on that yellow, I'm going to lay this on my table. I'm going to take this and I'm going to find, here's my tube, and I'm going to lay my ruler on there where my tape is. See what I'm doing? I'm laying that ruler right on there. Make sense? Tell me if it doesn't. And I'm rotary cutting up each side and down the other side of that. So I have a triangle. Then I'm going to flip my ruler over. I was going, it's hard to demonstrate. I was going this way with my ruler. The next one, I'll lay this way. So I'm not losing any fabric. Laying it right up to that. Then the next one, and she just showed you, flip my ruler over. Now I'm cutting as I go. You don't have to pre-mark these. I just marked them to show you the concept. So I'm just walking down this path, and out of one, the two on the end are going to be scrapped. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 blocks when I open them up and iron them. Half of them, I'm using, this is where I used the coordinating fabric 1. Here's where I used coordinating fabric 2. A steam iron, not a steam iron, a hot iron is your friend. And spray starch is your friend. A steam iron you want to stay away from because we've got biased cuts. And you can get some wonky designs if you're not careful. So by now, I'm probably literally half hour into this process. You know, if you start with your strips cut, because there's nothing to sew those strips together and cut them. Then, your pattern, which I'll give you all these, will tell you how to make the block for the design you want, for the quilt you want to make. So this one calls for, let's say, 20 of these. Very same block, it's just my coordinating fabric is laid out in a different spot. Now I got my blocks. And when you put your blocks together, there is the larger block. So that's as far as I got with my pattern, but I'm assuming for a baby quilt, maybe 2 of these across and 3 or 4 down, maybe for a crib quilt, 3 across. The point is, you can make it as big as you want. I mean, obviously, you're just sewing strips together. I am not a color person. I don't see color like other women do, and so my quilts don't pop. I can already tell you right now that that yellow isn't bold enough to me. I like it, I think it's pretty, but I can just imagine how stunning this could be with different color choices. So if you're good at that, good for you. Because I'm not. All right, so. Stop it.
I think it's
This is just ridiculous. Put it on my back.
turn it around.
Okay.
Well, then move it.
So, I'm going to hand these out. We're going to go through them, and I hope I have enough. But, here's what this says. You should have enough for you. It says, the strip tube ruler is a great addition to your toolbox. You start by cutting 2.5-inch strips. Now, let me tell you something else. I wanted to incorporate some of my scraps out of my sewing room. I want to use these polka dots. I didn't have with the fabrics. I just had scraps. Some of them back orders, some of them were. I just sewed them together to make. So, I mean, you don't have to go out and do it exactly like the pattern said. I just sewed them together, and where your seam is, if you don't want that showing, you just position your ruler and skip it as you're cutting across. All right, so 2.5 strips. We have a vendor back there with the jelly roll on sale for $30. You get, if I'm not mistaken, 40 2.5-inch strips in a jelly roll. That would be a beautiful way to start one of these quilts and then just buy a coordinating solid fabric. Spray starch is good. It gives you more precise cutting. It gives you more precise piecing because you are getting some bias, so stay away from sticks. When you put those tubes together, the two right sides together. I'm not a pinner. I don't pin when I sew, but if you're not a pinner, be careful when you're sewing them that you don't get a gap or you don't get it cockeyed. You want to lay flat. As in all quilting, a consistent 1/4" seam is good. It can be, I don't care if it's a 1/4", a scant 1/4", but just make it the same. Because then, of course, you know that. So if you're doing a 2-strip, like I was, you'll have 2 2.5s, and then you'll have a 4.5 to go on the back. But if you're doing a 3 strips, you'll need a 6.5 on the back. So, pattern tells you that. Now, if you don't own a strip tube ruler, first I'll say, if you're a member of the Nimble Thimbles Quilt Club, we have one that Catherine Smith gave us. So, you can borrow that. It's in the cabinet. We have other members who own them. I'm sure you can borrow one. So, I can get one for you at half price. But if you don't have a strip tube ruler and you don't want to buy one, you can use any square that has a diagonal line, and they all do. Because it's the same concept. You're going to find how big you need, you're going to put a piece of tape across there, you're going to lay that square on there. So, tools are great, but as you know, you can find your own way too. Okay, so then you can go on YouTube, and I put it on here. It's called Two Quilting with Jelly Rolls. It's the YouTube. And she doesn't have the strip tube ruler. She shows you how to do it. So you can even follow her along. This is the copy of the book if you want to buy it. There's the copy of the ruler if you want to refer to that later. This is where I might be infringing on copyright rules, but this is a reminder of everything I just showed you. And then lastly, this is the cool thing. Those are all the different quilts. So Jen, would you pass those up? Those are all the different quilts that, yes. Yeah. She's going to give these to, tag on it. I understand. She's going to give these to all the women who don't belong to the quilt club first, and then those of you who do, if I don't have enough, why I'll bring them to next week. Then my business card is on there. For those of you who don't know me, I have a long arm quilting business. I'm not a custom quilter. I don't have those talents yet, but I do overall quilting. And I put a 20% off your first strip tube quilt that you bring me to quilt. And that goes for all of you. Because you have nothing, it's not a marketer. So, then the last thing, and then I'll ask you questions. We're going to have a work day at Scott Hall. You do not have to be a Nimble Thimbles. I'm sorry, the extension office, not Scott Hall. We're at Scott Hall. The extension office at the end of the road here. You do not have to be a Nimble Thimbles member to participate in this. I'm going to teach this hands-on with how Sharon's AccuQuilter. You bring your fabric and cut it. And you can help us sew if you want, because we are finishing this quilt to donate to a child in a habitat home. The date is October the 22nd at 9 a.m. at Scott Hall. Nimble Thimbles. I quilt just like I told.
If Becky doesn't show up, we know where she will be.
Yeah.
At the wrong place.
Scott Hall. Excellent. So if you would like to come, including Nimble Thimbles members, anybody who would like to come, sign up with your email, and I'll send you a reminder. And if you want to come and bring your own fabric to make your own quilt, do that too. We'll have to get it cut, we'll have to get it started. Question? What day is it? Tuesday. It's a
9 to 1.
9 to 1. Pardon me? Yeah, we'll actually have two projects going on that day. We have a committee who's putting a quilt together. The blocks are already made. So there's always work. Sometimes we just have women who iron, you know? So there's always work. And it's a good time to meet the members of the book club. See if you think it's a fit for you. And you can bring your sewing machine, or you don't have to bring your sewing machine, because we'll demonstrate that if you want to bring your sewing machine, we can accommodate the sewing machine. So, Susan.
When do you start?
I starch when I make my tea. I starch this open. So it's kind of crisp.
You don't start the whole fabric.
I don't. I want that seam wide open so that I'm getting my full width here. You have a question, Jackie? The name of the date, 22nd of September. That's why I'm making a whole nother quilt over there, because this one's 7.5 inches and this one's 4.5 inches. I'm not kidding. You should see what I'm doing with them. It's really cool.
Becky, did you say that you pressed that center seam open or to
No,
one side?
I'm sorry. I press it to the side.
Okay.
And I'm not one who worries about light, dark. Those details don't work with me. Just press it over because you want it to be the same width as your coordinating fabric when you put it together. Make sense? And if it's not, if it's not exact, if you look here, you can see a little glue picking out. That's not going to hurt anything.
So for fun, not for perfection. That's my theory.
What's he going to do with that tape? Okay, what else? Anybody else? Okay. All right, it's a fun way to turn a quilt around. I have two friends here. We were setting a quilt club a few months ago. One of them maybe won some fabric that time when we had that drawing fabric. And I said, oh, that'd be a good bunch of fabric for a turning 20. And they said, what's turning 20? And I said, oh, it's just a quilt you can make in a day. And they laughed. And they said, you can't make a quilt in a day. I said, I can make a quilt in a day with your help. So they challenged me. And our quilt in the day, Susie and Teresa, raise your hand. They'll show you our quilt in the day. It's hanging over there. Now, I'm very impatient. I'm very demanding. I'm not even a nice person. So about 3:30, when I'm thinking I'm going to get a glass of wine and call this a day, and they're still looking, well, do you think this one looks better with these two touching? I'm like, just put the thing together. So this is a quilt in a day. We're not designing here. So I had to go back and apologize later, but we got a beautiful quilt, didn't we? Okay, so this is another one you're doing today. Thank you. Yes, it does.
I didn't bring any samples other than the fact that the flying geese unit looks like this. And you can use it for star quilts. You can use it as a border. It looks very pretty as borders. The Dutchman's puzzle uses flying geese. So there's different ways that you can use the flying geese. The flying geese unit looks like this. Okay, this top one here. If you take it apart, you can see that it's made up of two elements, or two block types. That's a half square triangle and a quarter square triangle. So the basis of the half square triangle is if you add on 7/8 of an inch to the finished side, you can make your templates without using a ruler. For the quarter square triangle, you add 1 1/4 inches to the outside as well, and make them any size. You don't have to use a ruler or templates. But I'm going to tell you a little about the whole process, because I'm a perfectionist, real perfectionist. And when I started quilting, we were piecing by hand. because that was the most accurate method. And then all of a sudden these rulers come along, okay? Rotary cutter, the rulers, the mats. That was an amazing thing to us when that. It was kind of like when the first time you saw color TV, you remember that? Wow, Wizard of Oz. It was cool. So, I still, even though I use rotary cutters, I still want it to be perfect. So, I think the biggest problem with the flying geese is you're dealing with bias edges. But before you start piecing, you need to really go back and make sure that you're using a scant 1/4 inch, because sometimes I think we forget where we're eyeballing the fabric as it's going through. So just maybe every now and then, so often, just check and make sure you've still got that 1/4 inch going. The other thing is, pressing does matter. I've seen demos where people have taken, they've done strips, and the strips are wrinkled. And they're teaching about rotary cutting. If your piece is wrinkled, it's going to mess things up. It just is. It's not correct. So make sure pressing matters. Press, press, press. We learned that in 4-H. We always want to press. Sometimes I add some starch and the fabric's kind of, soft. But always press. Make sure your fabric's pressed before you start cutting. So, I wanted to touch on two. Just kind of revise, or go over here, that this is a half square triangle, okay? It's been cut, the square's been cut just right down the middle. These two are on straight grain, cross grain, but right across here is the bias. And whenever you try to put two bias pieces together, they kind of want to fight each other and kind of move. So to me, that's kind of one of the hardest things when you're doing flying geese. So these two pieces here, the 1/4 square triangles, they're not too bad. But when you get here to the 1/4 square triangles, you've got a square and you're cutting it twice, diagonally, to get your 1/4 square triangles. So again, with that, you can go ahead and make any 1/4 square triangles, any half square triangles, and not have to use a template, okay? So that bias I was talking about can really wreak havoc. And I've always had this reminder to me that the least amount of stretch in your fabric is going to be on your lengthwise grain, which is along the selvage edge. The crosswise grain, that 44, 42 inches, is going to have the next most stretch. But when you get on this bias, you've really got a lot of stretch. So I think that's where you get a lot of problems with your flying geese. And I really struggled with it, even up until last year. And I found this new squaring up ruler that I'm going to talk about at the end. But it made a world of difference. So let me just kind of start here. OmniGrid makes two kinds of triangle rulers. There's one for the 1/4 and the 1/4 and half square. The half square, these things are kind of hard to see. Okay. The quarter square triangle, or half square triangle, is on the bottom. Okay, you can see how there's cross hatching of the cutting lines. Okay, this one on top is for the 1/4 square. They're all parallel to that bottom edge. On a half square triangle, the two outside edges are the same size. When you get to the 1/4 square triangle, this long edge on the bottom is twice the length of the height. Okay? So, when I use these rulers, I use them with strips, okay? And on here again, when you cut your strip, you want to cut it a 1/2 inch larger than what you're finished. unit's going to be, or whatever's on this line here. A lot of the others, they have extra built in, maybe I think an extra quarter of an inch, something like that. So these are all half an inch over, and this will be easiest. It's hard to do this upside down. I don't think I've ever done it upside down. So you would lay it on the bottom line. I want this to be a 3-inch finished block. So I would lay the line right here on the bottom. And it hangs over the top, and that's because we want that top piece to be squared off instead of pointed. Because sometimes when you get the points you're trying to sew, they kind of want to move around this way. So that's why they have it chopped off at the top. When you're using the quarter square, I know that it's going to be twice. So that was for 3-inch. This one's going to be, I'm going to line it up right on the bottom at the 6-inch mark. Okay? So and then I'm going to cut it with a rotary cutter on all edges. Once I get that done, I'm going to sew a half square triangle to the quarter square triangle, flip it back and press it. And when I press, I don't press like this. I actually press and put pressure on it. Now sometimes I'll find out I've got a wrinkle there, and it usually shows up when I go to square it up. So I have to go back to my iron and just kind of gently move it over and press it again. Once I've got that done, then I'm going to add this piece onto the edge and sew. Okay? Once I get that sewed, it's going to be a flying geese pattern per unit. Okay? The biggest thing you want to make sure is that you've got a quarter of an inch up here. Okay? Because you're going to be connecting that or sewing that to another flying geese or another unit of some sort. If you don't have that quarter of an inch up there, you're going to be in trouble. That's not what I had a problem with. So, these out of the way. Then there's another ruler that's made by Omni-Grid as well. And Fons and Porter puts that out. And basically what it is you have your quarter square triangles running this way and your half square triangles running this way. So they've taken these two rulers and put them together in one. So that now you don't have to have all these two, as long as you don't go over the size limit of what this one is. So that was kind of the neat. That's by Fons and Porter. The construction and the cutting and everything is exactly the same. It's just all on one ruler. So then I didn't have a whole lot of luck with that. What I found was when I used either one of them, either they were kind of swaying a little bit, you know, and that, or I got too deep in my seam and it just didn't come out square. So I found that if I did it exactly the size I wanted it wasn't going to work. But I remember a friend of mine, when these rulers first come out, they were, she said, you just need to square things up. I kept saying, no, if I cut it right and I sewed it right, I shouldn't have to square it up. I don't think that's an option. And she said, no, you just square it up. And I'd watch her, and I'd watch her. And I'd go home, and I'd have a square block, and I'd try to square it up. And it wouldn't square up. And the reason was, for me, that you had all these seams going different directions, and when I put that square on there, it wobbled. And when it wobbles, it's not square. So, I decided that I would, for the flying geese block, it would be the unit, it would be the best thing for me to make an oversized block. And then they have what they call a block lock. This little thing to me is like a lifesaver. They make it for half square triangles, I think for quarter square triangles. This one just has to be for the, happens to be for the flying geese. And the idea is on this, if you line it up, if you line it up right in here, it actually stops. It doesn't go. It doesn't shift. It doesn't move. You don't have to put any kind of tape on the back of it to make it work right. It just slides right up in there. And then I could cut my block down. And it was the right size. Just slide it. Yep. So that's what I ended up doing. And so once I get it lined up in there, I just cut all around it and even it all up. That was a lifesaver. I can't, these blocks, these are expensive, but they're worth every bit of it. I really, really have enjoyed them. So that has made a difference. So the other ruler I want to tell you about was the Quilt in the Day Elmer Burns ruler, okay? It's almost, if she'd have just taken this one step further, like put this block in there, it would be great. Or block, it'd been great because it'd been all in one. So this is a little bit different in that you're going to take two pieces. One of them, I believe, is 5, and this one is 7.5. And you're going to layer them right sides together on top, so there's kind of even margin around. You're going to take, and you're going to draw a line from here to here. Okay? Then you're going to sew on either side of that. And then when you get done, you're going to cut it right up the middle. Don't come out here. I'm sorry. So I'm just going to cut it right down the center. And this is what this block looked like before I started hacking on it. And you're supposed to do this without cutting your fingers off. That's really important. So then you're going to have two pieces that look like this, okay? And you open them up, and you're going to take them to the ironing board, and you're going to press them. Not scooch them, you're going to press them. And then you're going to put right sides together, opposites. Right sides together, opposites, so that they're like this, okay? And you can see how they kind of stagger a little bit. They're not completely lined up together. And then again, you're going to get out your ruler, you're going to draw a line from here to the bottom, here to the bottom, and again you're going to cut this piece apart, not your fingers, just the piece.
So you're not matching the seams, you're matching the squares.
Exactly. If you try to match seams, it doesn't work. Okay. So now you got two pieces that look like this. Again, I go back to the ironing board and I press. So working with these two pieces, what I like to do is, and it doesn't tell you this, I don't think, right in here where this is together, I want my seams pressed towards the tan side, okay, on both of them. Well, I got a seam that goes all the way across. So I'm just going to go in there and I'm just going to clip it in the middle so that I can press the seams in the directions I want them to go. Okay? So I press them really well. And then I go back, and you're not going to be able to see this, but this ruler has two different sizes on here. I'm doing the 2x4, so it's up in this area up here. Okay? That's all I'm using. So, just like the block, I'm going to lay this triangle up in here. Okay? Point, make sure it's up there. So I've got that triangle nested right up in there in that point. Okay? Then I'm going to, wait a minute, I got this right. I had that right, wrong. It's going to look like this, okay? This line's going to be down here, this is going to be nested. Did I confuse you? I'm so sorry. I'm going to go back over here and do a retake. That look better? All right. Then I'm going to cut around here, okay, here on the 3 sides, okay? I'm going to cut around here on 3 sides. 2 sides and the top, okay? Then when I get done with that block, this one has to be squared up as well. So you just flip this over. It's going to look like this now. You're going to flip it over, and this usually has something hanging out on the bottom, and you trim it off so it's even as well. Okay? I'll trim right along the stitching line. There's one for the smaller size and the larger size both. There are other rulers. They all work pretty much the same way. They just have different inventors. I'm an OmniGrid fan because that's what when they first came out, it was OmniGrid that came out. So that's what I use pretty much. But with this right here, the block, you can just use half square triangles, quarter square triangles, make them oversized, and then just trim them down with this. To me, that's the simplest way that I think to make flying geese. So, do you have any questions? Yes?
On that one there, can you just make the one side?
Do what?
On that one there, you can make one side?
Yeah.
Do they have other sizes?
They do. There's a set of these that range. I have a very, very small one. And I think there's 4 or 5 sets in there. When I went to Paducah, there was $85 for one. I can't say enough about these rulers. They just seem to make a difference in my piecing. After all those years, my best friend saying, "Well, you have to do this square a month." I'm going, "No, they should be right." I use it for quartering seed. I cut them correctly. They should be right. So this is a saving grace, I think. Are there any more questions? Alrighty. I hope you learned something.